Lake Forest podcast is supported by viewers, listeners, and businesses just like you. Michelle Parno has lived and worked in Lake Forest for over 2 decades. Michelle's lending experience, when combined with her real estate expertise, makes her an invaluable asset to her clients as they navigate their home buying or selling process. Call Michelle now at 847-528-8721, 847-528-8721. For the best cannabis in the world, look no further than Iliad Epic Grow. Owned by Lake Bluff's own Rich Ruzich, they are a cannabis cultivation center focusing on hard-to-find small batch products that will delight both the occasional user and ganjier. When visiting Michigan, ask for it by name. Epic Products, exceptional process. For more information, email info@iliadgrow.com. Laracy & Company CPAs, founded in 2010 by Lake Forest's own Brian Laracy, specializes in tax preparation and bookkeeping services. Earning the People Love Us on Yelp award, their process is straightforward. Just upload, review, and file. For a free quote, visit laracycpa.com now. That's LARISEYCPA.com. I'm excited to share with you something special from our Lake Forest community, the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa, located at 775 North Bank Lane in Lake Forest near Wisconsin Avenue. This just isn't any spa. They offer an amazing blend of traditional spa services plus the added benefit of medical procedures and treatments. In a relaxing and luxurious spa environment, you can enjoy a range of cosmetic and aesthetic treatments. These are all performed under the supervision of top medical professionals. The Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa provides skin care, facial rejuvenation, body contouring, laser hair removal, Botox, dermal fillers, chemical peels, and much more. What's great is that each treatment is tailored not just to enhance your appearance, but also to address specific skin concerns and to promote overall well-being. So if you're looking to pamper yourself and take your beauty routine to the next level, give the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa a call at 224-768-8028 or visit them at their location on North Bank Lane. It's an experience your skin will thank you for. We'd also like to say we're thankful for our Patreon supporters, Otto, John C., Helen, Herrick, J.M., and Paul G.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Pete, you must be on mute or something. I can't hear you. I hear Joe.
Pete muted is a rare thing.
I know.
We should appreciate it. Pete, you are muted. I see the mute thing on your...
Yeah, the mute thing's off, but so's he.
Unplugged mic. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Boy, my wife would like to have that option of...
a mute button?
There's quite a few folks at Lake Forest that I think might want that too, over at the Lake Forest School Book Depository there.
No, when I drive through town and everybody says I'm number one, how can that be? Joe, who do we got here? That looks like Mayor George.
We got Mayor George Pandaleon, mayor from what, 1999 to 2020, or excuse me, not 1999, 2019 to 2023.
The
and
COVID mayor.
you're mayor emeritus.
I guess
So,
that's right.
but you have a background in what, commercial real estate and finance?
Yes, I spent my time in my career was in managing pension investments in commercial real estate. So
Okay. And now you've got a new endeavor that you've been working on, involving Lake Forest. So let's talk about it.
shortly after my term as mayor ended, I was approached by, I think, 3 different people independently. They all had a very similar idea, which was to create some sort of an endowment fund to support not-for-profits in Lake Forest. This group sort of came together, led by Bruce Grieve, who you may remember from his time on the Historic Preservation Commission. So he's really led the charge, but I joined the board of what is called the Community Fund of Lake Forest about a year and a half ago. It took us a while to get the infrastructure in place, but we've now affiliated with the Lake County Community Foundation, which I'll go into the history of that, but it's an interesting history. They have all the infrastructure necessary to administer the community fund of Lake Forest at a very low cost. So that they basically are the back office, which allows our board, which consists of Bruce Grieve, as I mentioned, myself, Bill Anderson, and Marlena Cross at this point, although we will be welcoming additional board members as time goes on. But by doing that, the Lake County Community Foundation provides all the follow-up from donations, the auditing, the investment management, all those things. If I remember correctly, the annual cost is 65 basis points, which is far, far less than we would have had to spend had we been administering all this independently. So that was a great boon, but it ended up, we restructured everything to do that, and that cost us about 6 or 8 months last year. So now we're finally ready to hit the ground running. We had a little bit of a rollout before the holidays, but we've really been very low key so far because we were getting all this infrastructure in place. But we have raised some significant donations already. We're well into 6 figures in the fund. The objective is to create a permanent endowment. So this will be something where if you make a donation, it will be permanent and it'll grow over time. It'll just earn investment returns, and then we'll be making grants using those investment returns. So and we'll start making grants later this year. They'll be small because the fund is small at this point, but it could grow to be quite substantial. One great advantage here is that there's probably 50 individual not-for-profits in Lake Forest, all doing various things. It's a long list. It's hard to keep track of. And some of these not-for-profits are sort of tied to a particular family, and they're doing great work. The long term, you don't know how they necessarily, whether they'll be there 15, 20 years from now, or if you made a legacy gift, for instance, which entities, what's the vetting process? How do you determine which of these groups deserve your support? And it's especially complicated for people who have left town and are still interested in supporting charities in Lake Forest. So that's the idea. The other side of it, on the beneficiary side, for lack of a better word, is that this will be permanent. And so there will always be these not-for-profits will be able to count on getting some amount of funding from the community fund of Lake Forest every year. It's so that they're not in a position where they're living from gala to gala, or one big round of fundraising. And we all saw during the Great Recession, a number of not-for-profits fell by the wayside because they just didn't have consistent funding sources. It's something that I was frankly surprised we didn't have in Lake Forest with all the not-for-profits that we have. And then I learned the history, which is that when we were connected with the Lake County Community Foundation, it turned out that started out as the Lake Forest, as a fund, an endowment fund for Lake Forest. Then the people who started it decided that they wanted to focus beyond the boundaries of Lake Forest, and so they created a geographic coverage of Lake County, which has now been quite successful. They have, I think, $24 million in their endowment at the county, at this community or Lake County Community Foundation. And they've done great work, and they've made wonderful contributions to all kinds of social benefits. And a lot of that funding has come from Lake Forest families. The interesting irony is that fund generates very little back into Lake Forest. Their grants generally don't come to Lake Forest. So it started out to be for Lake Forest. It moved to the county, and now Lake Forest is not participating in kind of getting the benefits back from that. So a big rationale for the community fund of Lake Forest is to support entities in Lake Forest with Lake Forest dollars.
So like you said, there's a long history of charitable endowments, philanthropy in Lake Forest. you just look around and see names all over the place of different things that were added to our community, not with tax dollars, but
Mhm.
with charitable contributions from either one person or a group of people. What do you see happening with this fund as it grows and develops over the years that's not happening now?
Well, as I mentioned, the idea is that, first of all, it's permanent. So this will go into, an endowment fund similar to a university might have. So it will be generating income every year, and that will allow, through the grant making process, the recipient charities to count on, on getting funds. It should be very, over time. It should become very consistent for these groups. We will also be vetting these not-for-profits and, underwriting them, for lack of, if you will, to ensure that, the governance is well done, and that the dollars are being focused on the objectives that have been identified. One of the areas that we plan to concentrate on is really sort of social welfare, social services. Lake Forest seems like a perfect place to a lot of people, but I can tell you my experience as mayor, I saw a different side of Lake Forest from time to time, and there are serious and important needs right here in town. And we have some charities in town that are addressing those needs, and we want to be able to support them consistently.
Oh,
Hold
sorry, go
on.
ahead,
Tell,
Pete.
tell, tell me a story. How do I get this money? Can Pete Jansons get some of this cash?
uh, let's see if you
I'm
are
just a
you
poor
He looks like a
podcaster.
charitable case to me, George.
Look on
maybe
Patreon. You'll see how much I make doing this.
one of the one of the one of the focus points of this is mental health. So, maybe there's an angle there through one of the mental health charities.
Well, it is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I think Paws for Patrick, isn't that one? How
Mm-hmm.
does that come into play with this? Or
That
they
would
got
definitely be on our list of potential grantees. Mother's Trust, let's
Beef for Hunger?
you know, yeah, I'm trying. Safe Place. Um, all of
The
these.
Fill a
These
Heart
are
for Kids
right.
that's
These are all.
in town.
Yeah. Now, one of the things we want to do is ensure a focus on the money being, being
Yeah, it's
benefiting people in Lake Forest. So to the extent that some of these charities are doing things primarily outside of Lake Forest, we would have to gain some sort of a commitment from them that the money coming from the community fund would be used for the benefit of Lake Forest residents.
so are you approaching the charities or do the charities come to you and there's a vetting process?
It's a little bit of both. Yes, there's definitely a vetting process. We would like them to come to us, but we're just starting out here, so we're reaching out to some of them. I know Bruce Grieve has done some of that outreach already, and there'll be more of that, so that people are aware that we're here, and that we can start the process.
Wait, what is the process? You call up these people and you say, "Hey, you want some money?" And they have the option of saying yes or no.
uh,
I wish I was cold calling like that.
yeah. Well, I suppose you could look at it that way, but I guess that's more of us making sure that they're aware that we're here, and
Yeah.
then from there they would submit for a grant, and from the fund, and then we would vet them, and they would have to give us a bunch of information that would you know ensure that the money was going in for the intended purposes and so forth. So that's the primary role. Thankfully, since we've got the administrative side of this sort of buttoned up, the primary role of our board is going to be to raise money and run the grant making process. Pretty much everything else is going to be managed for us by the Lake County Community Foundation.
Are you looking at small donations too, or is this just more like larger endowments? I know a lot of folks when they do estate planning and things like that, or end of year charitable donations, do that as part of a tax strategy, but some people just give 5, $10, on a whim.
Yeah, we have no rule. We'll be happy to accept $5 or $10 or $100 or 50,000. We do have a commitment that we call 50 for 50 that will be founders. That'll be identified as founders of the fund, and these would be the first 50 people or families that donate $50,000. But that's not required. We're accepting. I know we've had donations in the $100 range. We've had donations in the couple of $1,000s here and there. And some more. We've had a couple of founder donations.
Are you doing events as fundraisers, or is it just please give?
We haven't talked about. I mean, we've done some casual events for small groups, and we'll probably continue to do that. I don't think right now, a big gala or something like that is probably not the best comparison, but I don't like to use it because of the history, is the way the United Way used to work. So the idea there is to sort of have constant presence in the community, constantly be picking a target for the year and trying to reach that target. And you mentioned something that I think is particularly this is particularly well suited for, which is legacy gifts, estate planning, because you make those plans and it might be 5 or 10 years or hopefully a long time before the estate plan goes into effect. You really want to know that there's something substantial there that will still be there and will be, well managed. That's a big part of the purpose here, is to provide a vehicle. And that came from a couple of people who have relocated to Florida, who are very prominent in the community, who said, I can't keep from down here in Florida, I can't keep track of all the different charities that I want to donate
from
to.
in Lake Forest, I can't keep track.
So we think it would be great. And then also we're thinking about our estate plan, and we don't want to have a laundry list of 20 different little, small charities in Lake Forest. We'd like to be able to make one gift somewhere and have it. That's an important part of our mission. Donations are happily accepted, large and small, day in, day out, Christmas time, year-end tax planning, all of that.
So it's a Lake Forest charity that can help people outside Lake Forest, or is it only inside Lake Forest that we're
generally speaking, we want the money to stay inside Lake Forest.
So Lake Forest has a stereotype of being a super wealthy community, and in many cases it is. I mean, there is a wealth here that you don't see in most other communities. But like you said, you do when you serve in a position like mayor, and I've talked to a few of the police officers in town, and you'd be surprised the things that go on, even in a community supposedly as wealthy as Lake Forest.
Yeah. Yeah. Wealth does not protect you from mental illness, domestic disputes, people falling into financial difficulties, all those things, and then other things that grow from those underlying problems. This was sort of a great aha moment when I first became mayor. We all see the blotter in the newspaper, once a month, and that's all the people who have actually been arrested and charged with something. When you're the mayor, you're one of the few people in town that receives the daily police report, which is basically a list of all the calls that the police take during the course of a day. And there's a surprising number of family interventions, for lack of a better descriptor, that our police are engaged in, and many of the charities here in town are pointed toward those issues. I mean, the oldest and one of my favorites is CROYA. CROYA was specifically created in, I believe, the early 80s or the late 70s after a run of, we had, I think, 3 teen suicides. And the feeling was that, the kids needed a place to go feel like they're paid attention to, and they can find a place to plug in if they haven't plugged in more conventionally in sports or something like that. So, that's a great example, and they've done a wonderful job over the years. And but there are others. Paws for Pat. You mentioned Paws for Patrick. There's the Safe Place.
Well, it's Mental Health
There are
Awareness
others.
Month, and the reason why is because when you get into springtime, people start to get their energy back over the winter, and then they take action on what they've been thinking about over the, depressing times in the winter. I mean, really, that's why you see all the incidents at the train stations and all that in the spring, and that's why it's Mental Health Awareness Month. My question is, there's sort of a herding of the cats with the Chamber of Commerce with Joanna Rolick. Should there be some type of chamber to harness in all these non-for-profits and charities so there's a one place to go to that you guys can all work together, or is that already happening?
It's happening somewhat. Actually, 2 or 3 weeks ago, there was an event at Gorton where they did a seminar for things to consider if you're being recruited or interested in becoming a board member of a not-for-profit. And then following that, there was a small, sort of almost like a job fair for not-for-profits where there were, I think, 15 or 20 not-for-profits, including our community fund, spreading the word and recruiting board members. At least been very preliminary. I don't want to get ahead of myself on this, but very preliminary discussions that I've had with the city about potentially expanding that to be much broader, something like a community day, or I'm not sure what we would call it, but
Lake
the idea
Forest
is
Day?
to get well, that it could be done in conjunction with Lake Forest Day, where we could gather up as many of the not-for-profits in town as possible and create, have each one have a little booth or a table and just be available to the residents for a day. A, get to know each other better so they can work together, and B, to expose themselves more completely to the community. I come back to this all the time, but we have something like 25% of our households are new in the last 5 years here, and 4 years. And so introducing those people to all the different things that are going on in Lake Forest is something I think that's important. And the city learned a great deal from, or has learned a great deal from, the operation of the holiday pop-up shop, which was really the first time there was a vehicle to bring all these different charities together in town and get them working together and communicating with each other. And there've been a lot of synergies that have come out of that between the various not-for-profits. So this would not be the first time that the city's gotten involved in sort of bringing these groups together and presenting them to the community. So that's an idea that I think has real merit, and hopefully the staff and the council will get behind that and support it.
People make fun of me when I talk about Lake Forest Day, Mayor George, and I'm trying to take something that's working well and make it even greater instead of trying to start up something from scratch. And what I'm trying to figure out is Lake Forest Day was always done on a Wednesday to incorporate all the people from the old days that had to work or give them a day off of work.
Mm-hmm.
So we have this thing going on during the week, which isn't ideal timing. What if the city got behind it with a little bit more horsepower and make it a bigger event to help even more charities? What do you think?
Well, like I said, I think your idea of doing something like this in conjunction with Lake Forest Day makes a lot of sense. Remember that Lake Forest Day is, at least the carnival and the food and all that, that's all a fundraiser for the American Legion.
Right.
So we wouldn't want to start treading on that. You'd want to keep it
I would
Keep it
say,
low key.
let's just say it's generating 300 grand and it's working off an off date. Move it to a better date. They keep the first 300 and everything else gets distributed amongst the other charities, something like that. George, is that too crazy?
I'm not even sure how that decision gets made. I mean, I believe it's the American Legion folks that kind of make
Yeah,
those
they
calls.
do it.
I know that this is something that's been discussed frequently in the past, and it always seems to come back around to sticking with Wednesday, partly for sake of tradition, and partly because I believe things like getting the carnival is far less risky and expensive during the week than it is on a weekend. It's a trade-off. But I would invite
A committee, put a committee together to look at it.
I'd invite Tom Marks or somebody from the American Legion to come and talk about it.
Why would they want to talk about it?
Well, it's always good.
Maybe they could make more.
Good promotion. Yeah, it's good promotion.
Well, no, I mean, we got a good thing. That's great. Okay, we don't want to step on the Legion making even more money, but putting it on a better date to incentivize everybody. Hey, do it on a weekend. More people will come in. Oh, the risks go up, the insurance goes up. Okay, great. Does it offset with more revenue?
Well, that's the question.
Yeah.
What are the trade-offs? It's been talked about, and for whatever reason, I've never personally been part of those conversations, but I know it has been discussed because it's sort of an obvious thing. For whatever reason, they seem to always come back to saying, no, let's stick with Wednesday for various reasons.
Well, we're in a day and time where they doesn't work anymore. It's, it's easier to look into it. And I think there are a lot of great charities that we've mentioned here. And there is something going on in town in Lake Forest. And I do think we can make it even bigger. You're making a phone call for money, George. Paws is making a phone call. There's 12 phone calls coming in. I don't know how many fake police department stickers, phone calls But if we're doing a raffle, we're doing a charity. Hey, this is going in for the greater good of Lake Forest. Here are all the charities involved, and then everybody gets a cut. Here you go. And if you're a bad actor, there's a board, and you kick them out, and kumbaya. That's just my 2 cents. Joe Weiss doesn't like that idea.
I think you have to do it something that the Legion can go along with. I think we have to respect the service that all the members of the American Legion gave to the country and what they do for the community. So and it's their event. You can't just take it away from them. Government can only go so far, Pete. I mean,
It's Lake Forest Day. It's not American Legion Day. Just saying.
Right.
So I want to help George. I want George to get more money.
George, I want to talk a little municipal stuff with you.
Okay.
But first, let's make sure people understand how they can help this fund, both through financial support and maybe even volunteering their time.
You've just summarized it perfectly. There is a website. You just go to communityfundoflakeforest.org, and all the information that you'll need about the fund and how it's governed and what its mission and objectives are is there. You'll be hearing more from us.
And there's opportunities to serve and as well, or
absolutely. No, well, as I said before, we're looking for board members, people that believe in what we're doing and want to get involved and help grow it. Absolutely is an opportunity to serve.
Sounds like, I remember your predecessor, Rob Lansing, saying once, Lake Forest has so many people with great professional backgrounds right at their fingertips in our community. You've got a pretty much a Fortune 500 corporation living here in terms of all the personnel and people that work here. So I'm sure you're going to be able to, people out there reach out, you're going to have a great team there.
Yep, so far so good, and we're looking forward to growing the team and growing the fund and creating something that 100 years from now is continuing to generate charitable donations for worthy not-for-profits in Lake Forest.
Great,
okay.
Great, and we appreciate all you're doing with that. Now let's talk some. Let's get the stuff
fun,
that's going to get let's get the stuff that's going to get Pete some clicks.
I just edited all that out. So George, What have we gotten right and wrong?
Let's see. About what?
Everything.
Uh,
Police station, grocery tax.
well, I can tell you the grocery tax. I'm getting to a point now. I've been out of office for two years. My successor has now been reelected. So I'm not involved in as many of these conversations as you might think.
Duly noted.
So I certainly was not involved in the grocery tax, and so I'm not going to comment on it because I don't know anything about it other than that I understand that this is not unlike what was talked about during my time in office, where the state was talking about capping property taxes. It was another political stunt. The state doesn't collect any property taxes; only municipalities do. So, so it was one of those things where they could say, "Oh, we're reducing your taxes," but all they were doing was just putting a burden on all the municipalities. Same thing with the grocery tax. It's a way to look good, or think you look good by reducing a tax in Illinois. That's always welcome because we have very high taxes overall. But ultimately, it puts pressure on the cities and towns that benefit from those taxes. Those taxes don't go to the state. So again, they were, it's the old line. They were sort of giving away the sleeves of their vest. That's my take on the grocery tax.
Well, should we use the surplus to cover it? Like get rid of the 1%, or what's your thought on the surplus?
It's all fungible. It's all dollars in the pot. Of course, in municipal finance, you've got to have everything in funds, so things have to be pointed in a particular direction and spent on those things. But all in all, the overall tax burden is based on the revenue needs that the city has and the expenditure needs that the city has. So if you take away a grocery tax, you're gonna end up putting that burden, assuming that money is being prudently utilized. You're going to end up just adding it to the property tax, which is I think it's neither here nor there, but it's a wash as I understand it. So there was a 1% grocery tax before. There's going to be a 1% grocery tax tomorrow. It's just that instead of the state administering it, the city's going to administer it. And I assume it's going to be collected like sales tax. I don't know how it's going to be. It may go to the state and come back to the city just like it did before. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
I am confused.
I think Alderman Goshgarian's remarks
It's pretty
on his
fired up.
way out were very pointed about that this and as he said on our show last week, he wears the same colored jersey as Governor Pritzker, but this was just a political stunt by the governor, which he's not the first governor of either party to do a political stunt, but
I mean,
they probably won't be the last.
The tell on that is that they told all the municipalities that they were allowed, they were almost encouraged to replace it on their own. So
right, but they had to take a vote to do it, and
right.
That's what's creating this story. But the tax remains the same amount that it was before. So,
right.
and the city's not. We've talked about this before. Our city is, for better or for worse, not very reliant on sales tax compared to, say, Vernon Hills or Schaumburg or Gurnee. If you don't get it out of these things, it's going to come out of your property tax bill, right? There's not many other sources of revenue for the city.
If I recall correctly, something like 80% of the city's revenue is from property tax, which is one of the reasons why the bond rating agencies like the city so much, because that's very reliable, very secure income where sales taxes can go up and down as some communities found during COVID. So yeah, so those kinds of consumption, those kinds of consumption taxes are not that big a factor in our overall revenue stream. So
what about, I think you were the first guest we had that mentioned on the horizon the need for a new police station. And we're now seeing that come to fruition with the
Hmm.
building on, is it Field Drive or Field Court? I can't remember the exact name, but
Yeah.
um, talk about what your perception is about all of that discussion and what's happening.
Well, long story. I think this is a fabulous deal for the Lake Forest taxpayers. Um, just to put, to get to the punchline. Um, we have a public safety facility that is not adequate for either police or fire. Uh, neither one has enough space. They don't have proper facilities for all the women that have been added. There's not enough garage space. The police squad cars have tons of electronics in them now, and they don't have a garage to park them in. So literally in the wintertime, they have to leave the cars running overnight um, to keep the electronics from failing. So, and when they fill out their reports, they have to sometimes sit in the main lobby of the police station to do it because there's no place else to sit. I mean, it just goes on and on. It's a 60-plus-year-old building that was designed and built in a very different time, and so it's been on the radar screen for a while as a major issue. We didn't have, I mean, we never really dug into it during my term, largely because we had really no idea where to put it. There's just not a logical site. There didn't appear to be a logical site for it, and the cost was extraordinary. I think Wilmette is spending upwards of $60 million just for their police station, and it will not do all the things that our police station is doing. Late in my term as a mayor, I was approached by a developer about that building, and their consideration was to turn it into residential. And they came to me to see, and Kathy Cerniak, to see what we thought the city would, how the city would view that. We said, well, first and foremost, you better go and talk to the people in Conway, the Conway Park Owners Association, because if they're not, if they're not in favor, then it's probably not going to work. And they were not at all supportive of a residential conversion. During that conversation, I got wind of kind of what the pricing might be. And so on my way out the door, I said to Randy, there's this potential out here you should know about. I don't think it's going to happen, but there's this building, and it's gonna probably be sold for a song. And so that was when my term ended in May. Sometime in September, they sat down to do the annual capital planning, and the police station was becoming more of an issue. One of the reasons that it was becoming more of an issue was, the city's hired a social worker, and she did not have an appropriate place to provide counseling to people in the police station. And it just was one more thing one more straw on the camel's back. So the council started thinking more seriously about the police station issue. And I will give Mayor Tack credit once again, similar to the pension issues that he has been so involved in resolving and improving. He was looking down the road and said, wait a minute, we've got a police station, the rec center is going to be behind it. If we don't do something about one of these things, they're both going to come at us at once. And by the way, there's this building we can get out there. Would that work? And I think there was a lot of skepticism at first in the council. I wasn't involved in any of those conversations, other than being aware of how the thing got started. But in the end, for something on the order of $30 to $35 million, Lake Forest will get a brand new police station that's going to be completely state of the art, and a rebuilt fire station where the old public safety, I mean, not rebuilt, I shouldn't say, renovated and improved fire stations. And it's going to cost half the cost of what Wilmette's spending just to get a police station. And now they're running up against budget issues, in some of these other municipalities where they start squeezing the square footage. They take out this feature or that feature, and in the end, I wasn't involved in all these interviews, but I've been told repeatedly, every one of these communities that's built a police station recently has said, boy, we wish we would have gone bigger. We're already out of space. And it's, so this is a really elegant solution, I think. And it provides room to grow, and it's going to provide revenue to the city that'll offset some of the costs of financing the police station with the rents that can be charged. I understand that there are already a number of prospective tenants for the space that's not going to be occupied by the police. So I think it's another example of sound management and looking out for the taxpayers, and
sound management that 5% of the Lake Forest people are crabbing about, if it's that high. No matter what we do, they're still going to crab. You brought up tenants, George, and you're a real estate guy.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about this last time you were on. What can we do about having more, or how about this, less art galleries in Market Square than we have
and
now?
more places like Duffers?
Yeah,
with Jeff Urso.
Well,
who just joined us.
You guys always throw me under the bus right when I get it. Hey, good morning, guys.
Hi,
Jeff. Thanks for showing up,
us.
Jeff. And please, next time, be open for Mother's Day at Duffers. When I go over there and I got a wagging tongue and it's closed, oh my goodness, come on now.
It was staffing, and I have a rule, and so it was my fault. I have a rule: if I make the staff work on a holiday, I work on a holiday. So I'm never going to make someone work on a holiday, and I'm at home relaxing. And my wife said she was going to kill me. So it was either Pete, you getting to quench your thirst, or me dying. So
I can't.
I went with that one.
I do not see the dilemma. But George, Jeff is a business owner, and kind of what I want to talk about is, in order to do a TIF, and I'm getting way ahead of my skis, George, so you got to reel me in. You got to incent somebody new to come in. That's going to piss the people that are already there. Why am I not getting that same incentive? How does that work out? How does that play out to get more businesses in town instead of art galleries?
Well, first of all, I think our downtown is probably as healthy as I've ever seen it. There's one very prominent vacancy in Market Square, which I believe, I have not been told this, but I believe that is strategic in nature, that they have an idea, the owner has an idea of what they want in that space. I do think it's a hospitality use that they're targeting. Yeah. And it's just a matter of finding the right fit. Those are expensive, Jeff. I don't need to tell you this. Those are expensive build outs. You want to make sure that it's going to be successful. You want to make sure you have the right tenant. So that's my understanding from a year ago or so about that particular space. I think otherwise, post-COVID, we've done extraordinarily well at attracting. I mean, I could tick off. I used to know this by heart. Memory's getting a little fading a little bit with time, but I think 8 to 10 new restaurants and food establishments in town during the post-COVID era, including Duffers.
Yeah, no, Lake Forest vibe is totally different than it was, as you guys know, 10, 15 years ago. It's trending in the right direction. Downtown is doing really well. I'd like to see West Lake Forest, get a little spike going eventually. I mean, that would be like the area I would hope that some new restaurateurs could focus on. I feel like we have enough banks, but maybe we could fit one more.
It's all cookie cutter.
But overall. Yeah. Well, you know what? They used to have levels. I don't know if you guys ever, we used to have
Yeah. Oh,
McDonald's and
sure. Lovell's
levels
was an
and yeah, yeah.
institution with Jim Lovell. Yeah.
Houston, we have a problem. It's
Yeah, and you had
closed.
Ferrantino's, and you had the, now DeRosier's got his corner spot that's been flipped out a couple times.
Everett
Westlake
Farm.
Forest, it has a train station.
Everett Farm
Everett
seems to
Farms,
be
that's what it's called.
Everett Farm seems to be doing. I had lunch there maybe 10 days ago or so, and it was full at lunchtime, which is
Yeah,
great. I haven't been there
it's
for
really
dinner.
good. It's a big fan. My wife is a big fan of it, as am I. And you got across the street Sushi Kushi, but
And there's Lou
sure, there's
Malnati's.
the Lou Malnati's, Jimmy
Yeah.
John's. I mean, you
Mhm.
got a few options there, but you can always use more. And like I said, every time I see that Levels, the building that used to be Levels, I just think back to when it was Levels and wish it was Levels, but it is what it is. And of course, the McDonald's was there. That's now a bank, but oh well on
Yeah, I
that.
hope they
That
develop the old Pasquesi. Yeah, the old Pasquesi property. If that gets developed, I think that'll really, be really cool over there. So, but yeah, downtown Lake Forest is doing really good with restaurants. I know the spot you guys were talking about at Market Square. That makes sense. And Mayor, you might have some insight. Am I wrong in saying this? Is the post office owned by Market Square? That's
No,
not owned by the post office, right?
no, no. The
It's
post
not.
office is owned by the post office, and
Oh, it is. Okay. All
yeah,
right.
and for many years we were in conversations with them about, an adaptive reuse, about them closing that facility and moving to a storefront or something like that. And in the end, what we've been told is that post office actually is quite profitable for the post office. Lake Forest, they make most of their revenue from catalogs and junk mail and things like that. And
Yeah, EDD. I know.
yeah, and Lake Forest is a very, very juicy target for all those catalogs and flyers and things. And so, on a per capita basis, my understanding is that post office processes a lot more mail than or is responsible for generating more revenue than you would think. So, the conversation, unless something's changed in the last year and a half or so, there's really not been much talk about the post office building in the last few years, because
Well, who knows
the post
what
office isn't selling. They're
Trump
not
wants
selling.
to do with the post office in the future, but I mean, you look at the old downtown Chicago post office and how it got transformed into a nice new development. Who knows what could happen
Right.
in the future with it? But you're absolutely right. I mean, every day in my mailbox is like
It's more of
catalogs
it's
and
a commercial
companies I've never heard
purpose.
of. Of course, they want that 60045 zip code demographic.
We got
Yep.
that
Yep.
fancy Lake Forest office building. Why can't we put it over there?
Which
Just saying.
which one are you talking about?
I'm talking about next to Jason Wicca in his office to put the post
Oh,
office. It's all commercial purpose, right?
there is on Bradley Road the real post office.
Yeah.
Yeah, the annex.
Yeah, I mean that's where the real processing of things is happening. It's not in our post office. Our post office
But you
is
can't go there to mail anything or pick
right.
up
It's
your
too far
vacation
away.
mail.
We had a window of opportunity to buy that thing, and we didn't get on it, George. Now the feds are now Trump's gonna raise the
They're
price on it.
that's I do not believe that's correct. I don't think we ever had. I mean, there was some
Never.
talk about it,
Okay, all right,
but the post office never was a seller.
all right.
Yeah, I
You know,
mean, I've heard from other communities that tried to do post office redevelopment. The Postal Service is an extremely difficult entity to deal with. Even just I can remember Glenview when they finally got their new post office. The signs didn't match the rest of the development there, and it took them 2 years to get the Postal Service to agree just to change the color of the signs to blend with the other signs. So
All right, I'll
you
leave
can
it alone.
imagine if,
I'll leave it alone.
it,
yeah.
We'll go on
in
to
an
the
early.
next. Go on
Okay,
to the next
we'll
one. The
move on
next
to the next.
one, George. What I want to know is where's the money from that artificial turf? Weren't we promised money coming in to offset
Mhm.
some of the costs with it? Am I a
It's
little bit?
there.
It's
It's
there.
right on
Okay,
track.
talk to me.
It's right
Talk
on
to me.
track. I actually had this conversation with Jason Wisha a couple of weeks ago. They're getting every bit and maybe a little more utilization from fee paying customers than they were expecting. And the model that we were using was to use those revenues to build up a reserve fund so that when the fields need to be redone in 10 years, there's money in the bank to do it. And so, and that seems they're right on track. They're
Well, there's a perception out there that people go by there at times and the fields are not getting used, and could there be tournaments and all that
Tournaments was the
stuff,
big
but
one, George. Tournaments.
well, there was a lot of talk about that at the time, and I think the consensus of the council was we're happy to have some tournaments, but we don't want, and we won't be able to accommodate large tournaments with 50 teams. It's going to be, I have a friend who lives in Libertyville, and his son is on a traveling baseball team for Libertyville, and they played a game there last weekend. He was very complimentary, by the way. He said it's the best field he's ever played on. So he said it's really nice. He was a baseball player in college, and he said it's so nice when you've got a ball coming at you and you know what it's going to do. I mean, you know it's going to have a true bounce. It's not going to fly off a rock and hit you in the face.
So even Scoo could catch it. We'll let it dead on post. So, George, what else is going on in town before we close out that we got to set straight? Those are the four big ones that people are reaching for something to crab about. Is there anything else that we should address that you're like, hey, you know what? You just got it wrong, guys?
Well, you've had really, you've had some well-informed people on your show the last month or so. So I think a lot of things are, being dispelled by getting the correct information. I'm surprised you didn't bring up dogs at the beach. That's been.
Hey, George, what about dogs at the beach? What are your thoughts?
I guess what's happened is with the new walkway, it's so much more pleasant to, go down to the beach from walking that it's become more of a problem. So there's been a whole campaign about it, and hopefully,
should there be a set aside area for dogs that because other towns do that, where they have a roped off or chained off area that, hey, this is where you bring Fido to play at the beach and nowhere else. I mean, any thought to doing that, or ideas on that? And maybe I put you on the spot here as the former mayor, so you're not privy to everything, but
no. And but I will say there's a very nice Lake County Forest Preserve dog park right here in town. I mean, right at the on Waukegan Road, north of Mariano's.
Yeah, Westlake.
It's a fabulous facility. Gets a lot of use, and it's made for the purpose. And so I think that's probably always going to be a better option than having people and dogs mixing with little kids with hot dogs, and it brings a whole host of problems.
And if they're not picking up the dog poop on Oakwood, why would they pick it up?
All of the above.
Yeah, right.
So there are lots of places to take your dogs in Lake Forest. The beach just doesn't work.
I think based on my neighborhood, I think we may have more dogs than people living in Lake Forest. It seems like everybody's out walking their dog.
So,
well, you're in the West Side townhomes.
It's not a townhouse. And when we're talking about restaurants, I do want to give a shout out to the cafe at Elawa Farm. It is a great place.
I was just about to do that. I was there on Saturday to pick up some plants, and boy, I mean, that place is alive. It was amazing to me to think back to when the city first took it over, and we really didn't know what we were going to do with it. We knew it was historically significant, and it's just amazing how it's evolved over the years and what it's doing now. So the
Yeah,
farm
maybe we'll do a
market and
show
the
with
goats.
Laura in the future about it. But that cafe is open every day except Monday and Tuesday for breakfast and lunch, and they got a lot very nice selection there.
Yeah, food's great. So
It's fresh.
by all means, yeah.
All right, it's
So
let's see, I have this recording. It's May 14th. Are all the graduations over, all that stuff? Every empty nesters? Is that no?
Well,
What's going on,
high
Jeff?
school's in June,
Yeah,
Pete.
college was just last week, so high school's coming
Okay.
up in a few weeks.
Do you get a nice rush over there, Jeff, from the foresters? I see them coming
Oh
around. They
yeah,
put the flags up. Yeah.
yeah. And one thing we got to do. So yes, I mean, us Chiefs, Lantern, we were all slammed last week with Foresters. We really got to get on promoting their sports next year, like next coming fall. If you guys go to those hockey games and football games, it is such a cool experience, and it's like the biggest secret in Lake Forest, I swear.
Let's get
So,
Canton Zero on here. We'll tailgate. I'll go out there. That's not too far of a
it's
walk for
so
me
much.
with my
It's
trailer.
like, oh my God, it's the best hockey you could watch around. I mean, these guys, they're all 23, 24 years old. I mean, a lot of them from Canada.
Hockey, I'm
It's so
talking
good.
about football. What are you talking about?
Well, Division III football is good. Don't get me wrong, but the
Oh,
Division III hockey
Casey
is like,
Urlacher played for Lake Forest College, so yeah.
yeah, well, yeah,
yeah,
right on his way to Mettawa.
I
Matawa.
remember I remember
Potato,
going to the hockey.
potato.
I
go ahead,
remember going
George.
to the hockey games. I remember taking my kids to the hockey games at the college. Back when they were younger, and I think it's the most fun hockey I've ever watched. You're right there. You can really see everything that's going on, and they play. It's a different game than the NHL, and I think it's actually in some respects more fun to watch. So it's really really fun.
Does the college and the city work in too much of a silo from each other? I think they could work better or give the perception they work better
Oh, I
together.
think there's a lot of interaction. There's a lot of internships that are filled by college students. I know Gorton collaborates quite a bit with the college in terms of some of their performing arts. There's a lot.
Okay.
Could there be more? Absolutely. And I think both sides are, both the college and the city are always seeking ways to work together more closely.
It's so intertwined in the history of the city, the college.
College was there before the city. College was founded in, I don't remember the exact date, but I know it was before 1861. So
Wow.
They got a new president yet? We'll edit that out in post. Jeff, you got it. You got Jeff, what's going on at Duffers Donati's? Anything going on we need to let people know about other than your close on Mother's Day and Pete couldn't get his beers?
Yeah. The teachers are doing the ribs this Sunday. So some
Okay.
Lake Forest High School teachers, if you guys
One,
want to come
one
out.
o'clock? 1 o'clock?
1 o'clock, yeah. We're just having a good time. We're doing a little chicken fry on Friday. So
Okay.
yeah, we're just new experiences every week, just trying to make it fun. I get to talk to a class of entrepreneurs in 10 minutes. So the high school's doing 3 classes at Duffers today.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it'll be fun.
Boy, that's tough on those kids. Class at Duffers,
Did
huh?
you do
Well,
inventory?
there's always someone like me, like most of the kids are all set up for, college and everything. And then there's always the me of the group of like, hey, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do, but I know I'm not a big school guy. And then I'm like, hey, trust me,
pizza.
you could own a plumbing business, and make a ton of money, So,
Oh, yeah.
it's just,
People always got to flush,
it's
man.
the college path. Hey, listen, I run a porta john company. If you pay good enough, who cares? So it's
Jeff,
it's the way to do it. But yeah,
Jeff,
no, it'll be good.
Do you have the
Yes, sir.
have you got the firefighters on your list of potential rib cookers?
Yeah.
I know they've got some serious
Oh
talent
yeah,
there.
we got Kaz all lined up. His Kaz is coming out in a few weeks with his team. So hopefully Kaz and Pappy and some of the other Lake Forest firefighters will be out.
Are they going to bring all the recliners?
Oh, stop. These guys. Man,
George.
Pete, you're just
I
looking
thought
for
Stu was off this week.
yeah. No, Most of those guys, when they work at Lake Forest, so most people know firemen are on one day and then they're off too. But a lot of them volunteer at other fire departments or they're trades workers. So those guys are always working hard. So, our firemen, I've known.
The cops told me that. I don't know. Well, the cops are pissed at me too. So who knows? George, let's just say I got a couple extra bucks in my pocket and I want to donate. Do you know any good places where I could send the money?
Community Fund of Lake Forest.
Where? .org.
Yep. You can donate online.
Ask for George, send it to you personally.
You guys can have your meetings at Duffers.
Right.
Mayor George Pandaleon, Jeff Urso, Joe Weiss, thanks for another great Lake Forest podcast.
Thank you so much, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks for having me on.
Mayor, you are
happy
something.
To do it.
Each show, better and better and better. Hopefully the internet is okay. Take care, guys.
All right.
The Lake Forest podcast is supported by viewers, listeners, and businesses just like you. Michelle Parno has lived and worked in Lake Forest for over 2 decades. Michelle's lending experience, when combined with her real estate expertise, makes her an invaluable asset to her clients as they navigate their home buying or selling process. Call Michelle now at 847-528-8721, 847-528-8721. For the best cannabis in the world, look no further than Iliad Epic Grow. Owned by Lake Bluff's own Rich Ruzich, they are a cannabis cultivation center focusing on hard-to-find small batch products that will delight both the occasional user and ganjier. When visiting Michigan, ask for it by name. Epic Products, exceptional process. For more information, email info@iliadgrow.com. Laracy & Company CPAs, founded in 2010 by Lake Forest's own Brian Laracy, specializes in tax preparation and bookkeeping services. Earning the People Love Us on Yelp award, their process is straightforward. Just upload, review, and file. For a free quote, visit LaracyCPA.com now. That's LARISEYCPA.com. I'm excited to share with you something special from our Lake Forest community, the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa, located at 775 North Bank Lane in Lake Forest near Wisconsin Avenue. This just isn't any spa. They offer an amazing blend of traditional spa services plus the added benefit of medical procedures and treatments. In a relaxing and luxurious spa environment, you can enjoy a range of cosmetic and aesthetic treatments. These are all performed under the supervision of top medical professionals. The Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa provides skin care, facial rejuvenation, body contouring, laser hair removal, Botox, dermal fillers, chemical peels, and much more. What's great is that each treatment is tailored not just to enhance your appearance, but also to address specific skin concerns and to promote overall well-being. So if you're looking to pamper yourself and take your beauty routine to the next level, give the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa a call at 224-768-8028 or visit them at their location on North Bank Lane. It's an experience your skin will thank you for. We'd also like to say we're thankful for our Patreon supporters, Otto, John C., Helen, Herrick, JM, and Paul G.